Hey, everybody. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the No Kings protest, which has been, they're just getting started, you guys. Like, they really want to get the fiery but most peaceful summer back together, the band back together, as I said last week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the horrible political assassination in Minnesota. And we're going to talk about Claudia Scheinbaum's take on, what President Trump should do with all of her citizens. So stick around for all that.
Hello, my name is Angela Box.
Show your fucking money.
Okay, so over the weekend, there was some more totally organic, not astroturf, not funded by any leftists, just the unwashed leftists that just got out there and, screamed and screamed at the sky. And y'all, I'm serious when I say this. Like, can someone find me a hot leftist? Like, that's not in Hollywood. Like, just one hot leftist that, isn't covered in tattoos and isn't, over morbidly obese or has some weird hair color or doesn't shave their pits. Like, can you find me one hot one? And the answer, of course, is no, you can't. So over the weekend, of course, the leftists who coordinated this entire thing, this whole No Kings protest, people like Randy Weingarten and evidently 198 corporations with $2.1 billion of assets were responsible for this. NGOs like Black Voters Matter and Common Defense.us and American Federation of Teachers and Indivisible and People Power United, blah, 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 blah. Like, just, the same freaks as per usual. It's the same vibe as what James Comey did a couple of weeks ago when he went out on the beach and he was like, look what I found here. These weird little shell formations that just so happens to call for the assassination of President Trump. Like, whoopsie, I wonder if anyone's gonna do anything about that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's the same vibe, you guys, because these people who are in charge of these things, who are, sicking their dogs on the American people, essentially, they're not getting their hands dirty in any of this. They're making their money and they're telling their lunatics what they want them to do. So over the weekend, we had, I don't know how many protests around the country, 50 or something like that. Who cares? Doesn't matter. At this point, it's the Charlie Brown teacher. Womp, 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 womp. That's what they're like, you guys. That's what they're like. They are making no impact whatsoever, although they think they are. So they, of course, have taken the 35% of the issue of illegal immigration, and they don't want illegal immigrants deported, like, at all. And the Democrat Party used to be for safe, legal, and rare abortion. They also and now they're, of course, abortion up to birth, and they also used to be for legal immigration. Okay, they were not down for all this illegal immigration crap. Like Cesar Chavez, remember, was a huge proponent of legal migration. It would be so nice if we could get back to those times where agriculture and whoever needs, seasonal workers we could get them their temporary visas, come in and work, and then go back home. We Hopefully we're going to be getting back to such things. But over the weekend, though, they're like riding and dying for illegal aliens. These are their people, and they're not making any bones about it now. Now, President Trump, of course, has made it very clear that he really appreciates the No Kings protest because it's a great juxtaposition to what the military put on last weekend. The military put on a beautiful parade in celebration of the Army's 250th year. Okay. 250th birthday of the Army. And the Army is seeing recruiting numbers go through the roof because of President Trump. It's no more Taylor has two mommies recruitment videos. Okay. We're back to the tough fighting forces that the American people expect our military to be. And so you can juxtapose, patriotism versus lawless lunatics who haven't bathed in 5 years. Like, these are the two Americas here. And what's really interesting to me is the left really does think that they're on the side of the majority because, again, they still have the media completely buttering their bread 24/7. But sorry, the American people are not down for any of this. But they're going to keep going, and they're going to keep protesting. And the people like Al Sharpton and Randy Weingarten and the Soros people and whomever else are going to sit in their ivory towers, look down at these little, you know, unwashed lunatic freaks and laugh and be like, they're doing exactly as we tell them to do. So I guess, keep it up, losers, because this is not going to be an issue you're going to win anything on. And the midterms are right around the corner. So again, please don't stop. All right. The next story is a tragic story out of Minnesota with the political assassination of a state senator and her husband, Melissa Hoffman. And it's all very suspicious because Ms. Hoffman recently, as of a couple days before she was murdered, voted against giving health care for adult illegal aliens. And I'm going to insert a video here of her basically crying in tears because it's like she knew. She knew what the left was going to do to her when she voted against giving health care to adult illegal aliens, not kid illegals, adult illegal aliens. And I'm going to insert that right here.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
So yeah, this guy Vance Bolter, he's 57 years old. He's a Tim Walz appointee. Evidently, might be a registered Republican. This is where it gets murky. But look, guys, 9 times out of 10, if it's political violence, it's the left doing the political violence, okay? And the fact that this guy had a manifesto, and they know he had a manifesto, and they know his car was littered with a bunch of no kings literature, we can pretty much assume if they're not releasing the manifesto, it's one of them, okay? It's not going to look good for the left. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But this guy is in a long list of people who have been radicalized by the left, have been radicalized. If we come to find out he's a filthy leftist, which again, I have my suspicions, or even if he's not, the radicalization that is going on, not by MAGA, but by the left, with again, the No Kings protest that is going out and telling people to basically destroy cities, that assassination is fine, that we should cut the heads off of Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, which we saw that go on over the weekend too, like holding up guillotined heads of Trump and Stephen Miller. Like, these people are deadly serious. And again, it's the people in charge who are giving them the rhetoric that gives them the okay to do these things. So, Tim Walz can talk a good game and act like he's just horrified by this, but it's like, you're literally calling half the country Hitler, Tim Walz. Like, what do you think is going to happen here? You're literally calling people who want to follow the law and, make sure we have safe, legal, and orderly immigration. You're calling us all Nazis. Like, what do you think your lunatic base is going to do, Tim Walz? So, all of you who've been radicalized by these leftists, I hope that you enjoy jail time. I hope that you enjoy prison, because if you think your little leaders are going to be, taking one for the team, oh, I've got news for you. They're not. They're collecting paychecks and they're planning the next quote protest. Okay? So, this is all the left's fault. The rhetoric that we've been hearing ever since Trump has been on the scene in 2015, and the defamation that MAGA experiences on a daily basis, is why you're having political assassinations, is why you're having people call for the assassination of Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, and anyone in the Trump administration. This is why that James Comey can just coyly go, what's this? 8647? Well, I don't know. Well, I declare I've never seen such a thing in my life. They're all doing it, you guys. And so if we find out that this Lance Bolter guy is a leftist, which again, have my suspicions, because the manifesto, guys, they haven't released it. And if you'll remember, whose manifesto they also did not release was one Audrey Hale, the Covenant Christian shooter, who her manifesto was littered with tranny propaganda and all the leftist crap. didn't release her manifesto for like 2 years. And they only did it because the cops leaked it. And they were like, we are sick of this crap. Leak this manifesto so everyone can see what kind of a lunatic this woman was. But when they don't tell you what's in it, that tells you everything you need to know. So my suspicion is Vance Walter's one of them. But we'll find out. Okay, finally, and it's on a similar note here, Claudia Sheinbaum, who's the Mexican president. Okay, this lady is a communist. This lady, evidently, may or may not, rumor has it, lives down the street from a couple cartel members. Rumor has it, had a couple of cartel bosses at her inauguration in the photos. So the lady is clearly compromised and clearly, at the very least, scared for her life, but more than likely bought and paid for. Okay, like we all know this. So over the weekend, she was basically crying and complaining about, ICE sending all her people back to her and complaining that President Trump and the big beautiful bill wants to essentially start taxing remittances to about 85% at least. Do 95%. Like, she's complaining because evidently about 4% of Mexico's economy is dependent on the remittances of people sending money back home. Now, look, guys, if we had a situation, like I said, where a Cesar Chavez figure could come forward and be like, listen, we need to get back to legal migration and temporary visas, and seasonal workers can come in and then they can leave and they can come back and forth. That's how it used to be. Okay. But Claudia Sheinbaum doesn't want that. No, no, no. She does not want that. She wants her people here illegally and then sending money back to Mexico to prop up their failing economy, because their economy is essentially, I don't know, cartel sponsored tourism at this point. If you've been to Mexico recently, you'll know that the cartels basically run all the resorts. So be careful when you go over there. But anyway, my point is this: President Trump is very wise to basically cut the head off the snake of the illegal immigration problem here, because he knows that we're not going to be able to deport 20 million people. It's just not going to happen. But what we can do is we can cut off all kinds of goodies to these illegal aliens, like healthcare and welfare and food stamps and living allowances and clothing allowances and education and birthright citizenship, all the things. We can cut them off, and we can also cut off the money going back to Mexico. You can tax the hell out of it, and watch for these things to start making these people self-deport. Because again, President Trump says, listen, if you self-deport and you do it now, you might get to come back one day. But if you keep this crap up, no soup for you. So Claudia Scheinbaum, sit and spin, honey, because we're so sick of your crap. We're so sick of you telling us how we should be living in this country and what we should do with the illegal aliens that you have sent to us. We're so sick of it. Take them all back, please. Take them all back. They are your people. And why don't you figure out in Mexico how you can fix your country, as opposed to let it be a failed narco state? Like, why don't you figure out how you can create jobs and industries in Mexico so that your people don't have to flee and become a burden on us? Do that. But you won't, because you're bought and paid for. All right, guys, that's where I'm going to leave today's video. Please let me know what you think down below. Subscribe, share, like, comment, all the things. And I will see you in the next video. I will be done. Bye.